Hello, Miss Romo, second period class. This is my speech for the Dia de los Muertos project. Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is a traditional Mexican holiday honoring the beloved ancestors. What is the history behind the celebration? Dia de los Muertos festival goes back to prehistoric times, some 4,000 years ago, when Mexico did not exist as a country. The civilizations, like the Aztecs, believed that life existed after death. When people died, their soul carried on to the afterworld. They believed that the deceased should be celebrated instead of mourned, celebrating death rather than a fear of death. So the Aztecs held a festival celebrating the death of their ancestors while honoring the Lady of the Dead, which lasted for a month. When Spanish conquered Aztecs, Spanish shortened the length to 2 days, which is now celebrated on November 1st and 2nd. Dia de los Muertos has survived throughout the centuries, all the changes that are proof of its importance to the Mexican culture. Why is it special to Mexican families? Mexican families believe that it is time to remember their loved ones and family members who have died. November 1st is dedicated to the memory of infants or small children who have died. And November 2nd is to celebrate the life of adults who have passed away. Mexican families embrace the idea of death and celebrate the life of the deceased, believing that they have moved on to a better place. Mexican reflects the fear of death by mocking death, and death is laughed at its face. When does it take place? Well, it is celebrated every year at the same time as Halloween and the Christian holy days of All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, November 1st and November 2nd. What are the events during Dia de los Muertos? Various events are planned for the festivals to remember the life of the deceased. During the week before the festival, great fiestas are planned. Markets are filled with marigolds flowers. Months before, many families actually grow their own marigold flowers, as they believe that doing so is better for their offering. A parade is organized to the cemetery. Feasts and picnics are planned with the many favorite dishes of the loved ones. All night, vigils are held in cemeteries. Mexican musicians, known as mariachis, sing and play in the cemetery. How is Dia de los Muertos celebrated? Skeletons, skulls, and marigolds are the main symbols of the Day of the Dead. Marigold is known as the flower of the dead, as it blooms for a few weeks in October. Mexican families clean their homes and decorate them with skeletons. They prepare special food for the festival. Families buy food and beverages that were the favorite of the family members that were deceased, as it is a belief that the spirit of the deceased will visit their family. Altars are built by families and include elements that symbolize earth, wind, water, and fire. Altars always include a container of water. Earth is the offering of food that the souls are fed by aroma like pan de muertos, baked in shape of skulls and figures. A moving object, such as tissue paper, represents wind. Fire is represented by a large amount of candles. A picture of the soul is placed at the highest point. The streets near the cemetery are decorated to remember and celebrate the Day of the Dead. On the last day, family members gather around the grave of the loved ones and they dance and sing songs and even attempt to communicate with the deceased member. The festival is a 2-day event full of history and meaning to it. So how does Dia de los Muertos compare to Halloween? Halloween is scaring away spirits by wearing scary costumes, while Dia de los Muertos is a lively and happy event and is not scary and encourages visits from spirits. Children often ask for small gifts, but unlike Halloween, they do not knock on the doors. Common symbol for Halloween is the jack-o'-lantern. For Dia de los Muertos, it is the skull. How is Dia de los Muertos a representation of Mexican culture? The Day of the Dead has their roots in the Aztec culture, and so since many years, Mexicans see death as the process of the new life. Each Mexican state takes part honoring those who have passed. Even with the drastic changes brought on by the Spanish people, the indigenous people were able to maintain their long-held practice and combine it with Spanish traditions. Even though the Day of the Dead is continuing to change, the underlying sense of commitment is honoring the deceased as remained as started by Aztecs. What is some vocabulary for Dia de los Muertos? An alfienque is a special sugar paste used to make the sugar skulls. Ofrendas are offerings that are put on the altar for the spirit. A lacalacas is a skeletal figure that represents death. What is some vocabulary for Dia de los Muertos? El alfienque, special sugar paste used to make the sugar skulls. Ofrendas, offerings that are put on the altar for the spirit. Lacalacas, skeletal figures that represent death. La calaveras, songs and poems written about the festival. La Catrina, an elegant skull designed by a famous Mexican illustrator. Papel picado, paper cutouts used for decoration. And pan de muertos, special bread with bone designs eaten on Dia de los Muertos.